The Moon Druid is an exceptional wild shape based druid to play as, and one that I've become very accustomed to using just because of how good it can be. So this is my pure land of the Moon Druid, levels 1 to 12, with a combat tutorial, as well as a bunch of items for you to use. So let's start from the beginning. We're obviously going to pick a Druid at level 1, and based on the items you're using, Shillelagh is really good, turns a staff or club to be magical, and it can deal bludgeoning damage using your spellcasting ability, which in our case, for a druid, is Wisdom. You could take things like Poison Spray, Resistance or Guidance. For us, the first two spells, Guidance and Thorn Whip. Now for your ability scores, we're going to have something akin to this. 10 Strength, 14 Dex, the initiative, Constitution at 15, Intelligence at 10, Wisdom at 16, and Charisma at 10. For your proficiencies, take whatever, and we move on to Druid level 2, where we get our specialization. In our case, Circle of the Moon, Combat Wild Shape. As a bonus action, you can assume the form of a beast. You can transform twice per short rest. This also gives us Lunar Mend, expend spell slots to regain hit points while in Wild Shape, as well as a plethora of wild shapes to go through. Honestly, they're all really good in certain areas. I have a personal favourite, which is the Owlbear, which we haven't quite unlocked yet, but the Owlbear is my go-to wild shape. For spells, I love Fairy Fire. This is a great spell from level 1 all the way to level 12, much like Guidance. All targets within the light turn visible, and attack rolls against them have advantage. It's amazing. There's also Thunder Wave, one of my favourite spells in the game. Really good if you can position this and blow enemies off of buildings or mountainsides, beams, whatever. You can really tap into that full damage as well as instantly killing them if they fall from too far a height. Speak with animals, this is always good, especially on the druid. This unlocks so many little lore drops and just loads of bonus dialogue. Long Strider, this is a ritual spell. You can cast this as soon as you leave camp and it won't use a spell slot. And then just for some utility, Healing Word, which is a nice little bonus action. Okay, we're now Druid level 3, we have a bunch more spells. So we get to add one more to our repertoire. And in this case, we're going to take Hold Person. Now, we're going to build our druid where ideally, wild shaping is what you really want to focus on. But if you don't want to use your wild shapes or you run out, anything like that, then we're going to have the utility that we can not have to wild shape and still be very useful on the battlefield. And that starts with Hold Person. Okay, druid level 4, we have access to our first feat as well as another cantrip. And we're going to take Poison Spray. And this gives us access to our first feat, and if you know anything about druids, you know where we're going. It is Tavern Brawler. So this adds our strength modifier twice to the damage and attack rolls. And now you might be thinking, our strength isn't very high, nor are we unarmed here. But this works in conjunction with your wild shapes. So if you wild shape into an owlbear or a panther, whatever, and you assume the stats, I believe it's strength, dexterity, and constitution of that animal. Therefore, the strength of an owlbear, you get that modifier added twice to the damage and attack rolls when you use your attacks. And this means we can bump our constitution up to 16. And for a spell, again, to make us nice and helpful outside of wild shaping, we're going to take Spike Growth. So anyone that is within this, their movement is halved, and all creatures walking on it take 2 to 8 piercing damage. Really good. And the whole point of this is that if you're up against like 2 or 3 enemies and you don't want to waste a wild shape, then you can just do some utility things like here. You can Hold Person, you can Thunder Wave, you can Spike Growth, and let your companions use their free abilities, their normal regular attacks, to pick enemies off. I think the best way to explain this is a build where once you're in a wild shape form, it's pure DPS. Outside of wild shape form, you are purely there to support and to ensure that you can save as many abilities for the other companions as possible. So Druid level 5. Now we have access to another spell. At this point, we are going to take Sleet Storm. And this is a spell that I love because the icy surface is amazing for not only slowing enemies down, it's amazing for making them fall prone. I love this spell. I would take this any day of the week. It is phenomenal. Now we're at Druid level 6 and we get Primal Strike. While in beast form, your attacks count as magical for the purpose of overcoming resistance and immunity to non-magical damage. And we have access to the Owlbear, my favourite wild shape in the game. And for a spell, we are going to take Plant Growth. This quarters a person's movement, and it's really good as it's a action. So you could set up combat. If enemies are far away, you could throw this down, and then you could wild shape as your bonus action. Ideally, you kind of want to wild shape and then use your actions to attack. But if the enemies are too far away or you want to slow people down, plant growth and then wild shape, and that's your turn. Which brings us very nicely to Druid level 7 and one of my favourite spells in the game, Conjure Woodland Being. Not only is this a summon that you can get on the battlefield, the summon itself can make a summon, and you can bring in the Woodwode. The ability is called the Fallen Lover, and it's just amazing for building a little miniature Druid army. Okay, Druid level 8, we have access to the Saber-Toothed Tiger and a new feat. So we're going to take the ASI and bump our Wisdom up to 18. And we get one more spell, and again, loads of really good options. I would either take Grasping Vine, Wall of Fire, or Conjure Minor Elemental. It kind of depends. If you want an army build, then Conjure Minor Elemental is perfect. If you want a bit more damage and a way to block off targets, Wall of Fire is amazing. And there's even Ice Storm, which is really good as well. I am going to take Ice Storm just to tap into the cold that we're going with. Okay, a Druid level 9. Now we have access to even more spells, and at this point we're going to take Conjure Elemental. An amazing spell, and I think it's worth saving the spell slot and just getting a normal elemental instead of a minor one. Okay, Druid level 10, improved Wild Strike. You can make 2 additional attacks after making an unarmed strike while in Wild Shape. So, amazing. Extra attack, basically. As well as a bunch more of these, and these Myrmidons are phenomenal. Despite the fact that the Owlbear is my favourite, these are insane. They are such good damage dealers. There's different elements to them as well, so you can really pick and choose the perfect one for the encounter you are in. We get one more spell, so let's take Resistance. And then for a spell, we're going to take Mass Cure Wounds just to give us a bit more healing capability on the battlefield. Okay, now Druid level 11. You can kind of take anything you want here. Please note, you will have very, very limited level 6 spell slots. So if you really wanted to, you could Hero's Feast, and that helps. Wall of Thorns is good. I would probably upcast Conjure Elemental, honestly. But you could take something like Hero's Feast just in case to test out your playstyle. And then Druid level 12, our last feat, and of course Wisdom 220. One more spell, and we're going to take a Wall of Fire. Now that was our level by level guide, and when it comes to equipment, there's not really too many items I would say are purely necessary. You ideally want things that will stack within your wild shape. So to start with, you want the Shapeshifter's Hat. Now unfortunately I can't find that, so as an alternative I've taken the Circlet of Blasting, just to get some scorching rays. There's the Flesh Melter Cloak, so you deal wonderful acid damage to anyone that hits you within melee range. The Space Hunt Boots, this gives us Dimension Door. Coupled with the Quick Spell Gloves, so this means we can use a cantrip as a bonus action. Again, I don't think this is really necessary, there might be other gloves you prefer. This is just sort of my loadout for this. Now this, in my opinion, is needed. The Armour of Moonbasket. Lunar Bestial Vitality. You gain 22 temporary hit points after casting a Wild Shape. While those temporary hit points are active, reduce all incoming damage by 1. Really good way of tanking yourself up. And Lunar Bestial Fortitude gives you a +2 to your armor class, and advantage on saving throws. Really amazing. And you can couple this with the Shapeshifter's Boon Ring. While shapeshifting or disguise yourself, you gain a +1d4 bonus to checks. Amazing way, and stacks within your wild shapes. For a necklace, I went with the Amulet of Misty Step, just to couple with the Dimension Door to help us get around. And for a weapon, if you are able to, then I've gone with a long sword and a shield setup. Now you might not be able to do this, you might need to just use a staff, in which case there's plenty of staffs out there you can use. None of them are really necessary for this build to work. Same with the sword and shield, to be honest. The main reason I've done this is just to boost that AC out of wild shape up a little bit. But again, your weapon can really be up to you, whatever you're proficient with. So that is my item guide. Let's go find some combat and we'll show this off. Okay, so as soon as we leave combat, we want to set up our abilities, and it starts with a Conjure Elemental. And as I said, I would probably upcast this myself. So let's upcast it, level 6, and gain a Water Elemental. And there we go. Now from here, we have more summons, as you know. Let's conjure the Woodland Being. And now our little army is starting to build together. And as I mentioned, the Woodland Being has their Fallen Lover, so let's get the Woodwode. And now we have a small little army of Druid summons you can have on the battlefield, and these guys are great. For example, the Woodwode is resistant to poison damage, the Woodland Bean that I'm using here can ensnare people with a basic staff hit. The Water Meridian can hit really hard, and then there's us that can wild shape into another creature. And that's before we've even got to our party composition. So this is a really good way of not only army building within your party, but out of wild shaping, we are a full support character who can hold things, slow things down, keep things at bay. And then we can turn into some amazing creatures and start messing people up with high DPS. So, let's show this in action. As you can see, we've started the combat, and we're going to do this without any other party members to show off just how good this build is. So, our Water Elemental will show you a basic attack. There you go, 15 damage, so not the best, but the ability to do that, and they can Elemental Warp and Fly. They can also heal themselves, so they're really good at not only dealing damage, but also at manoeuvring themselves around the battlefield, which can be sorely missed in some party comps. As you can see there, that's 30 damage now between 2 attacks. Now, as I mentioned about the Dryad can entangle people if they hit them, so let's see if this will work. And there you go, they are now ensnared, and that's just from a very basic attack that this creature has. Okay, now let's get this going. As I mentioned, we have got the ability to have the utility spells and then wild shape. What we can also do is concentrate on some spells. So let's start with a plant growth. We'll do this at 3rd level, and this is just going to help slow everyone, or all the enemies I should say, down. And there you go. So now they're within the plant growth, their movement is quartered. And we could come in here, we could wild shape, we could misty step, all sorts of fun things. What we're going to do is heal ourselves up just for this round, because I want to show you something else first. And there you go, you can see the plant growth come into play, how little movement they have. Okay, as I said, we can do some concentration spells. So for example, we could upcast this, and let's do a 5th level hold person. And because plant growth isn't concentration, it will stay. So let's target a bunch of people. Who else can we get? Can we see the one up here? Yes, we can. And there you go, we held 3 out of 4. And now, even though we're concentrating, we can wild shape. We will turn into an owlbear. And as you'll see, the concentration has remained. And we've triggered our Armor of Moon Basking, and we have the 22 temporary hit points, and boosted our hit points all the way up to 112. And there we go, now he shows off how good he can hit. And because of our Armor and Moon Basking and stuff, and the reduction in damage we take, it's even harder for us to break concentration on our spells. And our little water elemental can do a bulk load of damage, as you saw there. They also have the capability, thanks to Elemental Warp, to maneuver themselves around the battlefield better than most characters. And now suddenly, they're in here. And thanks to Hold Person, any hits on a character is a automatic critical. As you can see there, 35 points of damage. 37 that time. A really, really great way of dwindling enemy health down. And as you can see, no matter how many hits we take, concentration is maintaining. And this works on every character, so we come in here, we could do a Hemial Strike on this character. And there you go, another crit, and another bulk load of damage. Now, this druid and the army is such a great way to just close down a battlefield. Once you're in this position, especially if you can set this up earlier with having other companions to stop you taking so much damage, you really can just shut a battle down completely and hold creatures in a form that people will struggle to get the concentration spell broken on. And our little water elemental can also do some range strikes, such as an explosive icicle. And there you go, 30 points of damage in 1 hit, which is mental. And here you can see within 2 hits, our army of people have taken out 2 people. And we can start closing down the distance on this gentleman. Okay, and to get over this, we can do things such as crushing flight, which means we can sort of jump, come in here, and that is an owlbear feature, so we absolutely just crushed the enemy under us, which leaves them susceptible to some big attacks. And thanks to having 3 attacks in a round, we can just wipe these people out. And after the battle, or during the battle, you can come in here and use your Lunar Mend, and you can heal up to a bunch. So let's say we want to heal up a level 4 spell slot worth. And there you go. You could also do this if you wanted to. We'll show up a level 5 one now the battle's over. And there you go. You can regain a bunch of health and keep your wild shape and keep your allies here. And as you can see, if you come in with a wild shape and then short rest if you need to, you can remain in your wild shape form and regain your 2 wild shape abilities. So a nice little way to just cheese the system though. So that has been my Circle of the Moon Druid build. I really hope you guys have enjoyed. If you have, let me know what you'd do differently in the comments below. If you haven't already, please drop a like on the video, it helps me amazingly, and subscribe to the channel, that also helps amazingly. Hopefully, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.